So I am at my lunch break, and I'm just gonna be doing a little bit of knitting before I have to go back to work. So this is hey Steve. This is how far I've gotten so far with the hand spun on the one row hand spun scarf. And so as you can see from here to here, my spinning changed to a finer spin. So there's about a quarter inch difference in the width from this section to this section. So I probably was getting tired because the part that's up here is what was spun first. So everything that's left is what was spun first. So there's a chance that it will even get even finer. Like you can see right here, this is one of the things about hand spun. Sometimes you'll get little areas that are thinner than other areas. And this fiber in particular, it has all these little nips in it. And so the way the fiber spins around those nips will also change the gauge. So you're going to get thick and thin. You can just do the best you can. I think most of this was, and sometimes they'll have a bad run of spinning fiber and they'll try to figure out ways to sell that fiber. And so what they did was they dyed gradients. They dyed the yarn into gradients or they dyed the fiber into gradients and then they sold it to be spun by hand spinners pretty much. Um, but it was a fun spin. I would give you that. It was a very fun spin. And I try to keep my colors together. So I chain plied them to keep the colors together. So right now this is where I'm at. You see it started with that rusty red color. And then it goes into this brown. And then the brown goes into a gray. And then the gray goes into like a denim blue. And then it goes into this like starry midnight twilight kind of blue. And then it's gonna go back into the brown and then into this red. So it's fun. It's like looking at the core of a planet, huh? So it was a very fun spin. Um, so that's what I'm working on now is my lunch break, and I'm just trying to hang out with y'all a little bit because I don't know what my yeah, it's like slugs, but these were like really tiny, fine, like little teeny particles, and some of them are smaller than that. Um, so yeah, it's like they blew it as it was going into the there's in the small fiber mills, it goes through this picker and then it gets blown from the picker into this room where it sticks to the walls, and then they have the rakes that they pull that blown. It's like almost like when you watch somebody spinning sugar for cotton candy. And so they got these rakes that they scrape it down off the walls with, and they put in these barrels, and then they take the barrels over to the carding machine, and then they spread that fiber out onto the carding machine, and it goes through the carding machine where it's stretched out even more, like it looks like bats, like these big quilting bats. And then it goes through a process where those is pulled into strips, what we call it slivers. And if you take it off the drum carder just like that, with no other further intervention, then it's a sliver. But then when you take that sliver of fiber, let me see if I got some I can show you. And that's how I prefer my spinning fiber. This is top. So I can't use that one. Let me see if I have some real quick that I can show you. A slider. Okay. So this is a sliver. This came off the carding machine, just like this. It didn't go through a pen drafter. This is a custom blend of Icelandic wool, rabbit fur, and a little bit of the, what is it called? Brown Sheep Company's mill ends. All of this was put on the carding machine and run through the carder, and this is the result. The reason it looks so flyaway is that is the rabbit fiber that's in there. So I call it my snowy owl blend because that's what it reminds me of. But the sliver you can take over to what's called a pen drafter, and you take all those slivers and run them through the pen drafter. And what the pen drafter does is it aligns those fibers. It pulls them and aligns them, pulls them and aligns them. And it comes out also after it gets pen drafted through the small machine they had at the fiber mill my friend owned. It'll come out like this, but it'll come out, it won't have, it'll be all lined up. The fibers will be all lined up. And when it goes to the pen drafter, let me see if I can find some pen drafted fiber for y'all. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's gone through a pen drafter. See how all those fibers kind of look like they're going in the same direction. They're like lined up nice and neat. When you pull them, see how they're still nice and neat. Those have gone through a pen drafter. And so to get cone top, they take all these slivers that come out of the pen drafter and they run it through and they change the diameter and they get this bigger coil. All these, basically, it's like they're getting stitched together in a way. And so when they go through to become cone top, they're going to look like this. The top is going to look like this. And you can pull the different slivers apart in the top. So those are different slivers that have been combined in the pen drafter when they change the gauge to get these ropes of fiber. These ropes of fiber are what goes over the spinning frame and goes into the spinning apparatus where it actually turns it into a single ply yarn. Then they have another machine where they take all these cones of single plies and they make them into a yarn, whatever ply you want it, whether it was a 2-ply lace, a 3-ply, a 4-ply, a 5-ply. They run those singles through that machine until you get the ply you want. But that's why I love going to my friend's fiber mill, because I just love watching them make this was dyed by my husband. This is some Romney that I'm spinning right now. I got 2 more bags of this colorway, this spin and ply. But that's why, I just love the process, the actual process of the yarn, the making of the yarn. Somebody else needs to open a spinning mill around here that I can go just sit on a Saturday and chill and talk and spin. But yeah, so yeah, I was just knitting away and on my lunch break. The once row hand spun pattern by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. And I decided to just come on and hang out for a little while. Hey, LaShira, Steve, and Dreeny, and Chatika, and anyone else who might have come in and hang out with me during my lunch break. I gotta stop talking and keep knitting. So y'all pick up y'all project and work on it. So this is our lunch break, work on the project break. It was foggy this morning when I woke up outside. I've been listening to Minnie Riperton. Oops. Listen to the Songbird. I just was in a old school music mood this morning. And if you type the word purple, you can post your channel link. Type the word purple. I'm standing up because you be sitting down all day for your work. So during my lunch break, I like to stand up, do some shallow knee bends. I have degenerative arthritis, so I'm not trying to do no deep knee bends. I'm trying to keep my knees for as long as I can. It's like I can't get into a groove with this yarn. I keep getting interrupted today. So Katrina says she's working on her knitting. She's knitting a blanket and drinking coffee. Girl, you still drinking coffee? It's already, well, here it's already 1 in the afternoon. There's a pearl. Okay. So it's only 4 stitches in this pattern. Knit, knit, knit through the back loop and purl. So it's knit, knit, knit through the back loop and purl. And then you'll end up with 2 stitches at the end. Those will be knit in. But yeah, this gradient that they did is really nice. I like the way it changes. But the reason why the colors changed because I did a 3-ply to keep the colors together. Miss Shira is working on another cardigan. And these bamboo knitting needles, sometimes it depends on the yarn, but they're coated, so they're a little bit slicker than you can see the varnish on them. That's why they're shiny. So that makes them a little slicker sometimes than if you just used a raw wood bamboo needle. So the yarn slides a little bit easier on these, which might be why I'm having trouble getting up to speed. It's a curl on itself. I'm losing my place. I'm talking. What you working on, Dreeny? Did you finish that commission? And the Sheriff's drinking water. Yay. Working on another cardigan. What pattern are you using, Shakira? The Shira, I'm sorry. Yeah, them hips don't lie. You could be Shakira today, too. Hey, Zola. And like I was saying, everybody has to find their own way of knitting because I'm naturally left-handed and I learned to crochet first. So I hold my yarn the same way that I hold it when I'm crocheting. But unfortunately, I can't knit as fast as I crochet. So it takes me longer. That's why I only do knitting projects for close friends and family. I do not knit for the masses. But crochet, I can knock it out in no time. So yeah. Another thing is a lot of the people who speed knit, they have short their fingers or their hands are small. So they're already closer to the needle. Whereas me, I have long fingers, so it's harder for me. And look how far my thumb is from the top of my fingers. So it's harder for me to get into that speed knitting stance that you see if you study people who speed knit because my hands are so big and my thumbs are so far away from the tips of my other fingers, it's harder for me to get into a knitting speed like they do. So I just have to do what I can do, and and that's pretty much it. Because you see with my finger how far away this finger is from the actual needles when I'm holding my yarn. So you'll see me fiddling around with my yarn, trying to get that yarn and make a shorter distance between the yarn and the tips of my needle. So if I could be consistent with that, that would help. But if I can't, I just accept what it is, and keep going, or I'll be sitting here fiddling around all day long, um, trying to do something that's hard to do. Just like purling. There's another way you can purl. I'm trying to remember. There's Norwegian purl, and I'm trying to remember it. I think you go this way through the back, yarn over, pull it through, and you do some kind of other weird thing. But look it up, the Norwegian purl. It's a way you can purl. I don't remember how to do it, but I'll have to look at another video so that I can do it again. But it's just a different way to purl. For those who might have trouble purling, going through it this way. That's the way that I learned how to purl, swinging the yarn over the stitch that way because of the difference in my hands. So that's what worked for me. So you hear my neighbors who think it's cool to put them stupid mufflers on their car and ride around being all loud and stuff. And the thing about it is, they fixing up a car that ain't worth the muffler. Probably costs more than the car. It drives me crazy when I see people doing that. It's like you spending all that money on a car you'll never get the resale value for. It's different if you buy like a classic car and fix it up. Then you can get resale value because it's a classic. This is what you're doing. I'm knitting through the back loop, and I'm purling. You only have the knit stitch but purl stitch, and you just have techniques. Like if I was gonna do a yarn over, just like with crochet, I would yarn over, and I would go into doing my stitch. And what that's gonna do is gonna create a hole and create another stitch that I can actually work through if I want to when I come back around. You could also create a stitch by you knit through the front loop, pull the yarn through, and don't take it off your needle. Go back, knit through the back loop and pull the yarn through, and you just did an increase. There's also increases where you see this leg right here in front of your stitch. You actually knit through that and then knit your regular stitch, and you can create increases that way too. So there's different ways to make increases when you're knitting. It's not complicated at all. It's just muscle memory. That was a purl. So after I finish this, which will probably be next week, because like I said, I'm just working on this pretty much during my lunch break. Then I have to wash it and block it. And the way I'm going to block this is I'm going to take a wooden skewer and weave it through the end on both sides. And then I'm just going to hang to the string down here. Pin or clip these up. Put a string around here and center it. And then I'll hold a water bottle. I'll put like one of my water bottles, like a cleaning spray bottle. I'll hang it from the loop, from the string. And it'll put the weight on this and pretty much pull it down in an even way, because it's going to have that string that's going to go from this side to this side. So the string will be going inside there, and then you just hang it, you tie it in a knot and you hang it down this way, hold a water bottle onto it, and then that way that string, pretend the string is this hook, and then just pull it down like that to block it. So I'll get some more length out of this, which, yeah. Compared to my knitting friends, I'm very slow. They knit really fast because I play with my yarn too much. I try to make sure my stitches are nice. Since this is my hand spun, so whoever in the family gets this, I want it to look nice. And it have to be somebody in my immediate family, like in my household, so I make sure they don't destroy all my hard work knitting and spinning. Or one of my knitting friends that deal with wool. All right, got 10 minutes left. 3, 4, back loop, purl. I'm talking about it's hard sometimes to do that purl stitch, but hey, we get it done. And Sandrine got her baby. And I would just leave him there. And they just come and do their visitation. She got custody. Sandrine got custody. They come by for their visitation. The parental rights. Yeah, but you wouldn't have it any other way, Sandrine. Yep, she could say, hey, y'all need to come visit y'all child today and take him to the zoo. I need some Sandrine yarn time. When you put the yarn around to the front, you're making a purl stitch. Unless you have a pattern that calls for you to swing the yarn to the front and do your knits. Like some patterns will tell you, bring the yarn to the front and place it in there as if the purl. Then they tell you to bring the yarn back around to the back like that, and then knit the stitch. It makes like a twisted stitch, but the pattern will tell you to do that. But what I'm doing is I'm purling. When I bring mine around to the front, I'm doing a purl stitch. And when I take it around, when I do it around in the back loop, that's because the pattern tells you to do the knit stitch through the back loop. And then I'm taking around the front like this to do my purl stitch. I need to stand back up because it's hitting this table too much. I mean, I probably wouldn't do it if I was using circles, but I don't know why. I prefer straights and DPNs for most of my knitting. I only use my circles when I'm making something big, like when I was doing my sweater. Then I pull out my circulars, but I don't know. I just like I guess I like the sound when it's like, I don't know if y'all can hear that when you're knitting. I don't know if y'all can hear it. See? It's totally different if you were um using metal needles. It'd be more of a ting 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 ting. So that could get annoying for some people. For some people, like help them trance out. Well, a purl stitch is going to tighten up anyway because you're pulling the yarn around to the front of the work. So it's going to tighten it up. You just have to work on your tension um, when you do that. So if you know you're a tight knitter and you get ready to do your purl stitch, when you bring your yarn around to the front, don't pull it. Don't pull it real tight like that. Like, don't put a lot of tension on it. Be kind of lazy with it when you bring it around to the front. Just bring it around to the front and pinch it down. So you can still create your stitch, but you're doing it in a gentle manner. You're not pulling it. You're not pulling that yarn, making that stitch even smaller and tighter. See? And then that way you'll get your purl stitch and it won't be like this little, you see how you make the little V right there? And you notice it's not like a real small V. The stitches are like the same as the other stitches. So you didn't pull it too tight. Like some people, they pull, see how this stitches on how it moves, how you can make it bigger and smaller. Some people pull that thing so tight that when they come back around, it's hard for them to get the needle into that stitch because it's so tight. So that's just practice. And you slowing down, looking at your fingers, looking at your hands, looking at how you're making your stitches. And then you just try to be consistent and once you get that muscle memory, you won't be pulling it tight every time because you slow down. You're not fiddling with the yarn. You're just knitting, knit, knit, knit through the back loop, purl, and then you're not fiddling with your yarn, messing with your tension. You're just knitting, just making the stitches. That's why I tell people the first projects they make, the first 4 or 5 projects you do should be dishcloths. Because who cares, you're gonna be using a dishcloth to wash dishes and stuff. Who cares if it's not perfect stitches? But it teaches you that muscle memory, and it gets you used to your needles, used to how what the stitches feel like, used to the stitches that you way you like to make the stitches, and then that way when you're knitting, it's your project, and you do it in your time. You're not on a like everything y'all see me make, including stuff I make for my grandchildren. I'm not on no time schedule. I do it when I have time to do it. And even if it was a commission, I'll tell the people this straight up. Like if it's close to Christmas or something like that, this is where you are in line. You get it when you get it. I'll try to get it to you before Christmas. But if you wait until fall to order something from me, it wasn't a high priority for you, so it's not a high priority for me because I let people know around March you need to start putting your Christmas orders in. That way I'm not rushed, they're not rushed. Nobody's rushed. But if I'm gonna get rushed, you're gonna have to pay for my pain. Yep, I make dishcloths all the time. And dishcloths are a great way to learn new stitches. There are so many dishcloth patterns out there for knitting and crochet that is ridiculous. And so it's a great way to learn new patterns to see if you might have seen a blanket in a pattern, but you don't know if you like it. Do a dishcloth in that pattern. I'm pretty sure you'll find a dishcloth with that pattern. And if you don't like doing the dishcloth in that pattern, now you've saved yourself the heartache of starting a blanket in that pattern. And so you just find you another dishcloth. And if you really like the pattern, if it's fast and easy to learn, you can say, well, wait, this will make a great blanket. And use that for a blanket pattern instead of doing something that's going to make you miserable. That's why I always say, if you're going to do it, make sure that you enjoy doing it. Don't do something and somebody say, well, I want something just like that. Don't promise them they're going to get that. Let them know I will try to stitch. And if me and the stitch get along, then we'll discuss how much it's going to be. But if me and that stitch don't like each other, then you're going to have to either pick another pattern or find somebody else to make that for you. Because sometimes people don't understand. It might look real cute and pretty. They might think it looks easy, but it's not. Some of these patterns, especially the cables and stuff, you have to remember, I got to go down here and pull up this stitch. I got to do a treble crochet here. There's a lot involved in some of these more like complicated stuff. I should say your happiness is more important than money and what somebody wants from you with the skills that you've taken the time to acquire and nurture and the knowledge that you've developed because you took the time. So don't let somebody get you out your comfort zone because of something they want from you. All right, guys, I have to go. I have 7 minutes left, so I'm gonna go get me something to drink, get myself ready to finish up this work day. Thank y'all for hanging out with me while I put a few rows into this scarf. If y'all have any more questions for me, throw them down in the comment box, and I will try to get to your comments as soon as I can when I get off from work. So somebody should be streaming soon. That's what I do. I just listen to people while I'm working, so I don't feel like I'm by myself all the time. Okay. All right, that's the last one. And that's the other thing I like about this pattern. It's easy to find your place if you get distracted or if you got to stop in the middle of a row, because you just go to the back and just count 4 stitches. Four, 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 four. And you know where you at in the pattern. So I love that pattern. All right, y'all take care. Love y'all. Y'all be safe.